Good evening and welcome to the March 4th, 2025 regular meeting of the Putnam County Legislature. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll invite Legislator to please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and I'll call on Legislator Crowley to lead us in our legislative prayer.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
Amen.
Roll call, please. District 1, Legislator Montgomery. Present. District 2, Legislator Gordon.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Anderson. Present. District 4, Legislator Russo.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Elner.
Here.
District 6, Legislator Yonke.
Present.
District 7, Legislator Birmingham.
Here.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 8, Chair Hussein.
Present. I'll ask, now I'd like to ask Legislator Elner to present the proclamation proclaiming March as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Legislator Elner.
Thank you, Chairman Sage. It'd be so kind if I could be joined by Brandon, David, Jennifer, and Jason Harple here, and any of the other people that I've listened to.
How are you folks?
You guys are great.
You're a good show.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Everybody? Whereas individuals with developmental disabilities are valued members of our communities, and whereas it is essential to recognize the inherent worth and potential of every individual, regardless of ability, and whereas Putnam County strives to build acceptance and inclusion in all aspects of society, not only because it's right, but because it brings potential for growth and understanding. And Putnam County realizes that all its residents, non-disabled and disabled alike, are a most important resource, striving to think differently daily. And whereas raising awareness about developmental disabilities fosters understanding, acceptance, and inclusion, and whereas promoting the rights and opportunities of individuals with the developmental disabilities ensures they can lead fulfilling and independent lives. And whereas increasing public awareness can help to break down barriers and increase support for those with developmental disabilities and their families. And whereas March provides a dedicated time to celebrate the achievements and contributions of people with developmental disabilities and to address the challenges they may face. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month and commend our local service providers, schools, and organizations for the valuable services they provide to people with disabilities, their families, and the community. Who should I give this to?
I just wanted to say thank you to this body and also Dana for the exceptional work that's been done. This agency services people 365 days a year, 24/7, encompassing all areas of the human experience, from residential, vocational, educational. So please think of that this year, this month, and throughout this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
on our agenda is acceptance of minutes for the special meeting, adopt a budget held on October 29, 2024, special meeting held on December 10, 2024, special meeting held December 30, 2024, and regular meeting held on February 4, 2025. Number 5 is correspondence from the county auditor. There was no, we have nothing in front of us. Correspondence from the county auditor. Number 6, we'll move on to pre-filled resolutions. At this time, I'd like to recognize Legislator Elmer from the Fiscal Services Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Sage. Okay. First is item 6A, acceptance of Amendment B. This is our agreement with New York State for 2022 and 2023. Snow and ice removal.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item 6B is the same acceptance for year 2023 and 2024.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item 6C is for authorizing and implementing the funding of first entrance of 100% of the federal aid and state aid eligible costs for transportation. This is specific to East Branch Road over Haviland Hollow Brook superstructure replacement. This is money from the Bridge New York Fund.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6D is authorization and implementation for the first instance of funding federal and state aid for eligible costs. This is for the Peekskill Hollow Road over Peekskill Hollow Creek Bridge repairs, also from Bridge, New York. This is for $588,746.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6E is approval for operating assistance pursuant to Title IX of the Federal United States Code, Section 5311. It's a consolidated grant application for our fiscal year 2024 and 2025.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6F is approval for a negative secret declaration, Peekskill Hollow Road over Wickapee Brook culvert replacement. The county to be the lead agency. The county is the lead agency.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6J is the approval. Secret also a negative declaration, Snake Hill Road over Philippe's Brook culvert replacement.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6H, support and approve continuing the Putnam County Parking and Transfer Program and Intercity Bus Mass Transportation Joint Services Agreement to operate the Croton Falls Commuter Shuttle from Hamlet to Mahopac, Town of Carmel, park and ride facility to a train station.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6I is for the approval for the county to be the lead agency for a secret determination, Terry Hill Road, County Road 46, and New York State 311 intersection improvements.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6J is approval and ratification of application for 2025 grant funds available through New York State County Infrastructure Grant Program for the same project, Terry Hill Road and New York State 311. We're eligible for up to a $1 million match.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6K is for the approval for the county to be the lead agency for secret determination, for the restoration of the exterior of this historic courthouse building.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6L is for the approval of a lease agreement for the Putnam County Action Partnership / West COP. This was approved in committee.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6M is for a similar approval for a lease agreement, also approved in committee, for Cornell Cooperative Extension of Putnam County.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6N is for the approval of a lease agreement with the third of our 3 nonprofits listed here tonight, approved in committee, United for the Troops.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize Legislator Adonisio, the Chairwoman of Health, Social, and Educational Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Sage. On behalf of legislators Elder, Russo, and myself, I move to 6-0 for approval of budgetary amendment for social services Safe Harbor. This program provides protection and care for trafficked children and youth up to age 21. And I have stated before many times that people here in Putnam County don't realize that we are faced with this problem. We don't think we have this here in Little Putnam County, but we do. And I'm glad to see this move forward for $30,000 with zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6P is the approval for budgetary amendment for Department of Social Services Child Advocacy Center. This is a multi-year agreement awarded by New York State Office of Children and Family Services for the period of 10/01/22 to 9/30/25. The amount of $9,190, zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Moving on to 6Q is the approval of budgetary amendment for Department of Social Services Child Advocacy Center Crime Victims Board. It's a multi-year agreement awarded by New York State Office of Victim Services, running through 2022 to 2025. Amount of $23,157, zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6R is the approval of a budgetary amendment to the Department of Social Services, Putnam County's Code Blue allocation. For those of you that don't know what this is, it's issued when the temperature drops to 32 degrees or below, and it remains in effect until the temperature rises above 32 degrees. And homeless people are referred to emergency shelters, and they can be transported by bus or taxi. And Putnam County provides shelter and warming centers for those in need. This is the amount of $26,994 with a zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6S is the approval from the Department of Social Services for Putnam County's Administration for Community Living. This is provided by the Office of Children and Family Services for the purpose of providing resources to enhance, improve, and expand adult protective services, the ability to investigate allegations of abuse, neglect, and this is in the amount of $15,337, zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6T is an approval for a budgetary amendment in the Department of Social Services to amend the 2025 mental health budget to reflect adjusted state aid levels. And this is a zero fiscal impact, the amount of $488,973. And this is state aid levels that are going to be passed through to provider agencies in accordance with the most recent state aid authorization from New York State Office of Mental Health.
Any discussion? All in favor?
6U approval in the Department of Social Services 2024-2025 is New York State Rental Supplement Program allocation. And this is the purpose of providing vital rental assistance to individuals and families, regardless of immigration status, who are experiencing homelessness or facing loss of housing. Zero fiscal impact in the amount of $39,018.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6B is the Siena College Contract Community Health Survey, and they had presented at my last meeting, the Health Committee meeting last month, and they are utilizing health department funds from their state aid performance incentive initiative. It was a grant of $23,286 with zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6W, Fund Transfer, Department of Social Services Committee on Special Education for Daycare. They are requesting a fund transfer to reallocate funds to cover projected costs of $346,831 with a zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6X is Department of Social Services miscellaneous contracts covering projected costs. Again, zero fiscal impact in the amount of $22,285.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6Y, Department of Social Services. This is a 3-year contract that is up for renewal for the period of 2025 to 2028. This program does not require matching funds, and the application is due March 19th. We're just asking for approval for the grant renewal.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now I would like to recognize Chairman Yonke, Chair of the Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sage. On behalf of legislators Addonizio, Pullman, and myself, I'd like to move forward with item 6Z. It's the approval of a budgetary amendment for the Department of Social Services, Child Advocacy Center, New York State Office of Children and Family Services supplemental grant. It's a staff retention bonus package.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Item 6AA, it's the approval, the confirmation of the appointment of the Director of the Office of Senior Resources.
Discussion.
Just like to mention, we have Marlene
Oh,
here.
Oh, she's here. Okay.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to say welcome Marlene, to your new position, and you certainly have the qualifications and experience for this appointment. Welcome.
Anyone else? That's
I know that Marlene's been making the rounds to our towns and meeting all of our municipal leaders throughout Putnam County, and it's really great to have you out there in public and showing everybody, and thanks for your great work, and welcome again.
Anyone else?
Thank you. I just want to say welcome and thank you so far for all your help and assistance.
Thank you. Well, I would like to just say I'm very, very happy to appoint Marlene to our Senior Resources Director. I was lucky enough to be being on the interviews for this position. She's very well qualified. I'm so happy that we're promoting from within the county. She's got many years of experience. The seniors all know who she is, and she'll do a fabulous job for our seniors here in Putnam County and expanding this program for all of our special seniors here in Putnam County. So with that, I will, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Item 6BB is the approval of a confirmation. It's the appointment of our public health director, Mr. Rian Rodriguez is up for the position of our public health director.
Any discussion? Legislator
I
Montgomery.
had an opportunity to speak to Grant this week. I listened to the meeting, the committee meeting, and I'm really happy that we're going this route. When this conversation first came up about deciding whether to go with a commissioner who was required to have an MD or a public health director, I was in favor of a public health director. I think, going what we went through with COVID and understanding epidemiology and all that's involved in his training and his history and where he's been, I'm really thrilled that we decided to go with a public health director. We have the resources of an MD consultant on hand, and I'm really happy that he's coming on board.
Anyone else? Legislator Allen.
I think that Mr. Rodriguez is going to do an absolutely outstanding job. However, I have a problem is that this was presented by personnel as a savings to the county. It is not a savings to the county. This change is actually going to cost us about $65,000 to $70,000 a year more than what we currently are.
Anyone else that has spoken? I would like to welcome Mr. Rodriguez, who just joined us this evening. Again, I'd like to say that I'm very proud to make this appointment, to vote on this appointment here. I had the opportunity again, and thanks to the administration for allowing me to sit in on these interviews. Mr. Rodriguez was extremely well qualified, extremely well spoken. He has extensive published materials. He's local and lives in Brewster. He's got a family here. I'd like to thank him for stepping up to this new challenge in his career. And I'd also like to further thank Dr. Neshwat for continuing as a medical consultant for Putnam County. His dedication to Putnam County continues, as well as being our county coroner. So welcome, Mr. Rodriguez, and I thank Dr. Neshwat for all his service to the county. With that, I'll call on Legislator Montgomery.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. Legislator, I think you have spoken.
I just want to say Mr. Rodriguez possesses the necessary skills and experience for this position. I will be supporting the confirmation this evening.
Anyone else before I
Sorry, I missed you when I was welcoming you, but welcome and thank you. I hope that Legislator Elner can give us the line item by line for his math, that he's determined that this will not be a savings. But I also mostly want to thank Dr. Michael Neshwat for his service to Putnam County. His years of dedication getting us through COVID. It was rocky times with he and I in the beginning, and we've come to really appreciate each other. And I do have to say, Dr. Neshwat loved Putnam County, and he will be missed.
Loves.
Loves, yeah, too. Thanks. He loved it. He's leaving.
With that, I will, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Item 6CC is the approval of a budgetary amendment in the Health Department. It's a reclassification, a new public health director or medical consultant. This goes to the appointment that we just made.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Item,
Yes.
I just want to clarify the last vote.
It wasn't a roll call, so I couldn't abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can.
Did you abstain?
I would abstain.
For the chair, for what reason?
Because it costs more, and it's evidenced right on 6CCC.
Is that
For extension. Through the chair, can I call council? So you recognize
is that a
council?
proper abstention? Yeah.
Is that a proper reason for abstention?
Yeah,
Financial cost?
he's permitted to abstain.
So it stands. Okay, moving on to
Comment, please. just for the public's knowledge, you don't all have this back up, but the budget lines that we're talking about are taking the interim commissioner of public health, which was $226,000, to a public health director at $155,000.
Amen.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes, and we're adding $110,000 for a medical consultant, and now we're adding additional people to our health plan. That's why it does not result in savings. And as I said before, I want to welcome Mr. Rodriguez. He is eminently qualified, and he will do a fantastic job.
Any further discussion on item 6CC? Okay, all in favor, would you vote? Aye.
Aye.
6CC.
The extension is
Yes, correct.
That was 6BB, right.
Item 6DB is the ratification of the Civil Service Employees Association, Inc. collective bargaining agreement. I'd like to congratulate the county executive and his staff, as well as the negotiating crew for CSEA. This is our largest union, and I'm glad to see. We hope we have a fair deal for both sides, and I'm glad to see that this has been accomplished.
Discussion. Legislator Crowley.
I'm thrilled to see that now all four unions have hopefully a contract that they're happy with. That's something that means a lot to me, and thank you for all the service that you've done throughout the county and working through this, and congratulations.
Legislator Anizio.
Thank you. I'm also proud to support our dedicated members with fair wages and the benefits that they deserve. They're very hard workers. I'm glad they reached a 5-year agreement.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'd just like to thank everyone for their dedicated service and support and their hard work on this. I'd also like to thank all our employees at CSEA for all their dedication and hard work. For Putnam County, we could not provide the services that we do at Putnam County if not for these dedicated employees, and so I'm very happy that we have a fair deal in front of us. And with that, I will call on a vote. All in favor?
Aye. Item 6, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is the important part, the approval of a budgetary transfer, 6EE, Finance, Civil Service Employees Association, Inc., contract settlement. This will fund the agreement that we just ratified.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Item 6FF is the approval of a fund transfer for the Office of Senior Resources personnel to reallocate salaries to appropriate grants.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize Legislator Nalke, Chairman of the Protective Services Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sage. On behalf of legislators Anizio, Birmingham, and myself, I'd like to move forward with item 6GG. It's the approval of a budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Office. It's GPS technology for Putnam County Patrol Fleet.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say I fully support this budgetary amendment, as I'm always in favor of improving the efficiency of our sheriff's department.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now I would like to recognize Legislator Birmingham, the Chairman of Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 5 items for you tonight. On behalf of myself, legislators Elder and Goldman, I'd like to move the following 5 items. First one is item 6HH, budgetary amendment for the County Attorney's Office, legal services, it's $150,000 to pay outstanding legal bills. Moved on behalf of the committee.
Any discussion?
2 times prior, this department came to us and asked for a $50,000 budget transfer for the end of the year. So that was $100,000. And now we have an additional $150,000. I don't like it.
Anyone else? I'd just like to make a note that this was tabled from our January audit committee meeting. We tabled to our February rules committee meeting because the amount was just more than I was comfortable with, and I felt it deserved further discussion. As stated, the law department budget for outside counsel was originally $300,000. So when the actual numbers doubled to $650,000, I think that warrants deeper discussion with taxpayer money. This amount is more than any other amount in the past 10 years. And I certainly understand the need to pay our bills, and I certainly understand the need for outside counsel. When the law department came in towards the end of the year, last year they asked for an additional $50,000 to cover the outside counsel for the rest of the year. They came back again and asked for another transfer. And then they came in asking for this next transfer of $150,000. As I stated, I wouldn't be a good legislator if I didn't want to discuss this a little further. I'm certainly satisfied, and they were provided the information that I asked for. I dug through it, and it was certainly appropriate. But as a legislator, that's something that I really have to look into, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to discuss it now and to vote on it now. I hope going forward that we can budget more responsibly so that we don't have surprises at the end of the year. I do understand that things come up, but just so we have a better understanding as to what to expect and to keep reasonably within our budget. With that, I will call on the vote. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Anezio.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item on the agenda for the Rules Committee is item 6II, approval budgetary amendment for the Veteran Service Agency, the peer-to-peer program. It's an amendment for $197,864, zero fiscal impact in both this fiscal year and the next. Moved on behalf of the committee.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. The next 3 items, Madam Chair, concern our favorite topic, our legislative manual. And 6II is a resolution authorizing moratorium on the... Oh, JJ, I'm sorry. No, you're right. 6JJ, my apologies. Resolution authorizing a moratorium on the implementation of certain provisions of the legislative manual. As we all know, back in January 7th at our reorganization meeting, I put forth several proposals to amend our legislative manual, and 3 of them, rightfully so, have been the center of some conversation and perhaps some concern, and those are rules numbers 31, 32, and 33, as well as subdivision 2B5C. And what this resolution does is puts a moratorium on the implementation and effectiveness of those provisions of the legislative manual for a period with respect to 31, 32, and 33 until July 1st, 2025, and with respect to Section 2B5C with respect to going out to October 15, 2025. And I'd like to address directly some comments made by 2 of my colleagues at the January 7th meeting, in particularly Bill and Nancy. They were voices of caution and advocating us perhaps to put it to the committee before we voted on it. And in retrospect, I think they were spot on, and I should have been more attuned to their thoughts on that, so I'd like to thank them for that. And hopefully this will be subject, along with some other items coming up on the agenda tonight as well, for some future good legislative committee discussion. I think they're important provisions, but certainly provisions that we don't want to rush into. And with the benefit of hindsight, I can see with respect to these 4 actually rules, I think their points were well taken, albeit maybe 2 months later. So on behalf of the committee, I'd like to move this resolution.
Any discussion? Legislator Montgomery.
I'd like to amend the motion, and I'd like to make a motion to table this. Rules 31, 32, and 33 are not rules yet, so we don't even have them before us. We didn't adopt them.
I think we did.
We did.
We adopted them at the organizational meeting.
Oh,
So they are rules.
so we wanted
We're
to
just
go.
putting them aside.
Their effective date. Yeah. What it would do is
So we can discuss
is-
at our, we can discuss these at our,
What we have on the table is, what we discussed in committee, and they've been on committee agendas, is to revise them, correct?
Well, yes, if you recall, the last rules committee, through the chair, at the last committee meeting, rules committee meeting, these were specifically, they were on the agenda, but because that night was, had 3 committee meetings, of rather heavy consequence, we, I think you made the suggestion, the committee adopted it, to table discussion of 31, 32, and 33, and then that's when this motion came up to put a moratorium on them. They were on the agenda to be discussed, but it was a rather busy night, if you recall, we had sales tax and other things with audit. So this will be on the next rules committee meeting for not approval, but for discussion. And what this does is it gives us some breathing time to discuss these things before their implementation.
thank you. Legislator Montgomery.
So it's likely that these rules will change.
Yes.
And again, my motion stands to table this until we see the outcome of what these rules will be.
Could I, through the chair, could I explain?
Yeah, just so you're clear, go
Yeah, could I
ahead.
explain the consequence of
Yeah.
tabling it? What the consequence of tabling this resolution would mean that these 4 rules would become, or would remain effective. In essence, they're effective right now because they were adopted on January 7th. And what this resolution does is puts that effectiveness in abeyance. In other words, it makes them not effective until certain periods in time. If we were to table this resolution tonight, what that would mean is that these resolutions would continue to be effective, and should we have another, we had 2 great people who came up here tonight who were confirmed by this board, they were grandfathered in before these rules took effect. If there was another nomination tomorrow, let's say, Rule 33 would be applied to them. So what this does is it pulls back not only on 33, but also 32 and 31, as well as 2B, 5C, and essentially just makes them not effective until much later in the year, so that should we get a nomination tomorrow, let's say hypothetically, it would be just as if the 2 people tonight were nominated. The Rule 33 would not apply to them. So I just wanted to, that's how I
No, I
understand your
appreciate
statement.
that very much. If I can ask Legislator Birmingham one more question. Sure. Thank you. So the reason for delaying it and shall not become effective until July 1st, I don't think I ever understood why you were delaying it. Is it just to get people used to the idea that they would have to take an oath of office? Why would we not make it effective after it's adopted?
Well, because in hindsight, after speaking with our personnel director, Paul Eldridge, and members of the law department, they made me aware of some issues that they had with it that I think we have to iron out before we can make them effective. Now, granted, I didn't have that benefit of that in-person meeting prior to January 7th. And so that's the reason. July 1st was really just an arbitrary date. We figured it would give us 4 months. Can be longer, I'm open to that. Similarly with October 15th, that date was rather chosen specifically because if you recall, that rule has to do with the presentation of the county budget. And that one, as you know, the county budget gets presented to us at the beginning of October, and the reason this is October 15th is because, again, it would make that rule not apply to the presentation of the 2026 budget, and that's why that one was October 15th. I'm open to amending any further dates you want. I'd be happy to do that.
No, I appreciate the detailed explanation, and I rescind my motion.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for those nice comments, legislator. We clearly see that there are flaws in this current legislative manual by this item 6JJ. I believe there are other items that really should be reviewed, except for these, in addition to these 3. I'd like to make a motion to adopt last year's manual until we hash out all of the issues that we have with this current legislative manual, and then bring it back up and adopt it at that time.
Just point of order, I'm not sure that motion is subsidiary to mine. In other words, to amend a motion, you have to either amend it or table it, or something that's subsidiary. What you're proposing is the adoption of a prior legislative.
Adopting, going back to the previous one, we had no issues with for a whole year. And the way this was put through, not going to committee, but going directly to a full legislative meeting, and not being able to hash these things out in discussion, the best thing to do in this situation is go back to the previous one and then hash out whatever problems we have and then move forward.
We've already passed that. This, yeah, I don't know if that's,
Yeah, this just speaks to
Let me ask Council on this.
I believe Legislator Birmingham is right, is that his motion would need to be resolved before a separate motion that's not subsidiary is considered.
Okay, I'll make that motion to do no business. Sorry, thank you.
any further discussion? I will call for a roll call vote.
Legislator Adesina.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yaki.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item is item 6KK, approval of amendment to the legislative manual, public commentary on legislative sessions and committee meetings prior to taking a vote. Moved on behalf of the committee.
I'd like to make a motion to remove this from the agenda for all the reasons that were just brought up on the last agenda item. I do appreciate Legislator Crowley bringing forward this change, but I do think that it came in for approval, and just like the changes that Legislator Birmingham brought forward, I think it needs more discussion. So I'm making a motion to remove it from the agenda so it can go back to committee for more discussion.
Is there a second? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adesina.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
No.
Legislator Yaki.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Russo.
No.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So that was the motion to pull from the table. So we can move on to 6L.
So just to be clear, what are we tabling this for?
We didn't pass the motion to
Table it, yeah.
Well, no,
That
the
wasn't
motion to
tabled, it's
remove.
from the agenda. There's no further discussion after it's removed.
I thought the vote was
The
on
vote
the-
was yeah, he said for further discussion.
No, your motion was to remove it from the
Remove
agenda.
from the agenda.
And he received a second. We had a roll call vote.
We didn't call for a discussion, so.
There is no discussion.
Because we don't like transparency, so we don't hold
That's part of our
discussions.
It's part of the rules that we've had in place. There will be discussion at further committee meeting.
Well, it's just been removed, so what committee meeting will it go through?
Look at the rules.
I asked you that, and you said it won't, it's removed. So I have to bring it up again.
Legislator Crowley, with all due respect, the discussion is not going to happen tonight. It will happen at a committee meeting. So we can discuss it further.
Through the chair, we had it for discussion in the rules already, not that long ago, where Chairman Yonke was present. He sat on that rules committee. He passed it through unanimously. So he had full time to discuss it and hash out whatever issues he had, as did almost everybody except for Legislator Elmer, who was in this room. So why was there no discussion had, and why was it passed unanimously that evening?
I know you're not happy.
No, I'm
but that's
asking a
the
question. I
rules.
would just like to understand if there was no discussion and passed through unanimously,
There's no
why was
discussion
there no
now.
discussion?
There's not a discussion on a motion to remove from the,
It's just funny how it passed unanimously through
full
there.
discussion.
We should have, but it passed unanimously. And it's just smoke and mirrors.
I have a comment, please.
There's no discussion on to remove. I'd like to get on with the rest of the
I
committee.
have a comment because it needs clarification for the public who doesn't have an opportunity to speak ever.
I'd be happy to explain. So when we have someone to make a motion to remove something from an agenda,
That's
it
not
just
what I
receives
wanted
a
to clarify.
It's one of the rules of our legislative manual. It's removed, asked to be removed from the, it gets a second and voted on. When it passes, there's no discussion, and we move on to the next agenda item. Legislator Montgomery.
And just for the purpose of understanding, to clarify what just happened and to comment on Legislator Yonke's statement, this was discussed in committee, unlike Legislator Birmingham's rules, which were not discussed in committee, which were rammed through the first meeting of the year. So that's why we're in this situation. So despite Legislator Yonke being on the Rules Committee, chairing it, discussing this extensively during that committee meeting, now we're throwing it out.
Thank you. We're going to move on.
Because we don't want you.
Okay, Legislator Birmingham, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this will be a deja vu maybe. 6LL, approval amendment to legislative manual, live streaming legislative sessions, public meetings, and public hearings. So moved on behalf of the committee.
And I'd like to make a motion to remove this item from the agenda for the same reasons on the previous resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote. There's no discussion on a motion to remove from the agenda, although we had extensive discussion in the last one. There's no discussion, and I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Evans?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowell?
Absolutely not.
Legislator Elmer?
Yes.
Legislator Goldman?
No.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
No.
Legislator Russo?
No.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the Rules Committee agenda.
And transparency, as we know.
Okay. I would like to, sorry, all right, I would recognize myself as chair of the Audit Administrative Committee meeting on behalf of Legislators Birmingham and Legislator Crowley. I would like to bring forward agenda item 6MM. It's an approval for a budgetary amendment for finance for the year-end journal entry. Number 2, this is something that we typically do at the end of the year to reconcile our books. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Legislator Evans?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley?
Yes.
Legislator Elmer?
Yes.
Legislator Goldman? Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Agenda item 6NN is an approval for a budgetary amendment 24A017 for planning. This is for state and municipal facilities grant program. This is a SAM grant. This is to be used for the Putnam County Veterans Museum to build a onset hut. This is in the amount of $50,000 with zero fiscal impact. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 600 is an approval for a budgetary amendment for DPW for the East Branch Road over the Haviland Hollow Brook superstructure replacement. This is for the town of Patterson. And there is a fiscal impact of $30,000, $579 for 2025, zero fiscal impact in 2026. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item PP is an approval for a budgetary amendment for DPW for Peekskill Hollow Road over Peekskill Hollow Creek Bridge repairs for the town of Putnam Valley. This does have a fiscal impact of $29,437 for the year 2025. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 3Q is a budgetary amendment for the Department of Social Services. Excuse me, for the Department of Social Services for the mental health OASS abatement funds to support the LOST team and Project Hope. The LOST team consoles those who have lost someone through suicide. This gives them a bag to help them begin their healing process for the families. This is in the amount of $10,600 with zero fiscal impact. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6RR is an approval for budgetary amendment with the Finance Department for the Legal Aid Society for Indigent Legal Services. This is an increase in aid for indigent legal services for the Legal Aid Society in the amount of $592,286. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item SS is an approval for Putnam County's request to extend the 1% increase in county sales tax for an additional 3 years. Discussion. Ms. Zerko.
So 56 of the 62 counties, including the 5 boroughs, all have 4% or more sales tax, and we're at less than the city. And 8 of that are lower, and they collect an occupancy tax ranging from 3 to 5%, or even as much as 7. Dutchess and Orange County collect 5%, even though they have a 3.75 sales percent tax. So we're one of the few counties that, when we look at this as a whole, that realistically, even with the few counties that don't collect the sales tax, do collect the occupancy tax. So they're up in the 5, 6, 7, 8s, and they're much higher than we are. I think there are many ways to streamline the sales tax to give back, and I just wanted to bring that to the public's attention. After being nice about those, the numbers that they gave back to us, it's something that we need to recognize.
Commissioner Allen.
I would like to amend this resolution. So instead of 4%, I would like to change it to 3 5/8%. That would effectively make our sales tax overall 8%. So I have language that over here with some, substantive changes. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to read them.
Just to be clear, this is an approval to extend the 1% increase in county sales tax. So you're...
I'm saying we do not make it 1%. I'm saying we make it 3 5/8%.
Okay. Is there a second?
Just to be clear, you're asking for effectively to amend this motion to reduce the amount of sales tax that we're asking the state to charge. Right now, we're asking the state to give us an additional 4%. I'm saying let's request only 3 5/8%.
Just to be...
Effectively reducing the tax rate by 3/8.
3/8.
Thank you. That's okay.
3/8.
I'm going to second that.
Discussion.
If I could just ask, discussion, yes.
Discussion on that.
Greg, your amendment is to, we get as a base, as a given 3%. And this resolution, before it's amended, asks us for an additional percent to go forward. So you're asking to not ask for that additional 1%.
Correct.
But to rather have our overall county sales tax levy be 3 5/8.
Correct.
Okay.
Which gives our overall effective rate of 8%.
Right, when you throw on the 4% with the state, and then the 3/8% then.
Yes. And I have language if people would like me to read the changes that I'm suggesting.
I seconded this because the balance sheet of Putnam County we've never seen the fund balance that we have today. And even if you looked at the sales tax revenue coming in for the month of January, which was reported at the February audit meeting, we saw that we're already over the budgeted amount that's coming in. So we've got a surplus of funds. I believe that it's a responsible reduction in the sales tax where we can manage with the surplus that we have. We can manage a reduction in both the sales tax and the property tax when the 2026 budget comes around. So I'm in favor of this. I was actually hoping that we could do more. It went to committee as a 0.5% rather than the 5/8% that's on the table now. So I'm supporting this. We're asking for 5/8. Just for
Yes,
clarity.
I'm talking the inverse, but yes.
We're asking for 5/8 instead of the 1%.
Yes,
So you're lowering the 1% to 5/8 ask. Correct. Okay, any other discussion? Legislator Montgomery.
I'd like to make a motion to table this because we had a hefty conversation during committee with all the towns writing to us, constituents writing to us, and I don't think we've really vetted this properly with this new proposal that's on the table. I think we need an opportunity to explore this more. I think the towns need an opportunity. You canceled the meeting where the towns were coming out to discuss it, and you scheduled the meeting, you rescheduled it on a day where all the towns had their own municipal meetings, so I think we need an opportunity to discuss this more extensively in committee.
Is there a second on the table?
I have a question for member of the law department.
We have an amendment on the table.
Right, we already have an amendment on the table.
And a second.
In a second. Can you amend an amendment?
We can't finish discussion before the amendment.
Well, we have two amendments before us. I just need to know which amendment I'm discussing, or potentially discussing.
Because this is not a circumstance that often comes up, I'm not sure what Robert's rules would normally require there, or what's in the legislative manual, because again, multiple amendments, I'm not sure if that's specifically addressed. It may be most prudent to address the First Amendment first, resolve that, and then have a Second Amendment follow. If the legislature prefers, you can make essentially last in, first out, make as many motions to amend each amendment and then resolve them in reverse order, but that may get a little confusing depending on how many amendments are made.
So what do we do with the amendment, the motion to table?
It hasn't been seconded.
That hasn't been seconded.
Can we finish discussion?
Of course, she was discussing, she was doing discussion.
Which is up to you to allow for discussion before you take a vote.
But I don't think you can discuss any
Well,
motion until
but
it's
Legislator
seconded.
Montgomery made a motion to table, so that kind of ended discussion, so that's where we are now. We're trying to decide if
So we need a second.
we need a second for the,
I have Robert's rules in front of me, may
I
I
need to
clarify?
No second.
I am going to allow discussion on the amendment that we were discussing. The amendment that Legislator Elmer brought forward, that was seconded. And then, continue, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So reducing sales tax could lead to property tax increases. Legislator Birmingham, you proposed this, but you also voted for some major property tax hikes in the past, which you've admitted to. And we should also be careful here because Legislator Yonke has also voted for a lot of property tax hikes. And we need to point out that we've all raised a lot of, or that most of the people here have raised property taxes in the past. And by raising this, we're going to end up with property tax hikes again. One affects the other. So I don't know if we want to help the people that are in our community that live here, or if we want to help the people that just come into our community and spend money and go. You know, we need to be very careful, and I think that we need to put more thought and just discuss this a little bit more.
Anyone else?
I've never voted for a property tax increase. I have voted to decrease property taxes, and I will continue to do so. Last year, I voted to keep property tax stable. The county is in a very healthy position. We spent an extremely high amount of money last year on capital projects. I don't believe those to be reoccurring projects. I believe that we can do both, reduce the sales tax and reduce the property tax. Also, Legislator Crowley brought up something that I had proposed years ago when I was on the Economic Development Committee, and after I left that committee, it went nowhere. I wanted to have an occupancy tax on hotels, motels, and Airbnbs, because that tax will not affect Putnam County residents. I even stated at that point is, should a Putnam County resident need to stay in a dwelling for an extended period of time, that they could have the opportunity to get a rebate on what was being charged. So I think that this is good legislation. It puts money back into individuals' hands, not that of government. And I believe we can continue to reduce taxes, like I said, this and a property tax reduction.
Further discussion? Legislator Ed.
Thank you. Just so we know, the county portion of the property tax is the lowest. Everyone is aware that the state share of the sales tax of the county is 4%. The county portion is 4%, and the MTA tax is 3/8. So that's 8 3/8. I believe coming to a straight 8% would benefit Putnam County. Another example of a benefit to Putnam County was when we created a 2-year sales tax exemption on clothing and footwear under $110. That was done last year, in March of 24. The higher this tax rate, the sales tax when people go shopping, and the higher it burdens people, especially people with low incomes. So I am definitely in favor of this.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Many of us, as you can hear by this discussion, would like to cut the sales tax extension and not allow it to move forward. I agree, we should cut taxes. We have cut taxes. We have to figure out what the best way to do this for the benefit of the residents of Putnam County. This legislative body has cut taxes on clothing and footwear under $110, whether you buy at a store or you buy online. It went into effect on March 1st, 2024, and it will continue until March 1st, 2026. At the last board meeting, I asked Commissioner Lewis, and he stated that at the last meeting, residents have saved $1.5 million for that specific tax deduction. That's very good. That's a lot of money that going back into the residents of Putnam County. This was the first meaningful sales tax cut we've had in Putnam County for years. Over the last 15 years, 15 plus years, Putnam County has traditionally used sales tax to lessen property taxes. I've mentioned this multiple times. Everyone you speak to, everywhere in the county, they say that their property tax is too high. Sales tax is not even mentioned. People are not even considering the sales tax because it's the same as every other county around us. Property tax is the problem that everyone is facing. Property taxes are paid by the owners, property owners here in Putnam County. Sales taxes are paid by the residents and non-residents who come into the county to shop. One out of every dollar for property taxes, school taxes make up 70% of that share. That's a large percentage of the taxes. Putnam County government is 9% of that bill. In Putnam County, we pay some of the highest property taxes in the country. Part of the reason here is county government is 9% is because we've done a great job with spending and giving the services back to the community. Where the school district taxes are just too high, that's why our taxes are very high. I don't want to pay higher property taxes, I want to pay higher taxes. I believe we pay too much, whether it's a fee, whether it's a levy, whether it's a toll, whether it's an assessment, whether it's a contribution, or whether it's a congestion price. We are paying too much to live in New York State. And the residents of Putnam Valley, the area I represent, will agree with everything that I'm saying. By not extending the 1% sales tax, we are jumping the gun here. At the last Board Committee meeting, I asked Commissioner of Finance, we have just settled 4 union contracts. How much is this actually going to cost us in the next few years? He couldn't give us an answer. I asked him, how much will our health insurance for the employees in Putnam County cost us in the next few years? He couldn't give me an answer. He couldn't give us an answer. I asked him, how much will the Putnam County Employee Insurance Review Committee cost us when they finally figure out and make recommendations, for us to vote on?
he couldn't give us an answer. The federal government will be making cuts that we all hear about every day. There's a lot of uncertain issues here. A lot of uncertain questions. We need answers. I asked the commissioner, would it be irresponsible to cut this at this time? He said yes. I would prefer lowering property taxes for the residents of Putnam County and also giving back some of the money to the towns that we have, the 6 towns and, throughout the county, because their infrastructure is breaking down. Same taxpayers. People don't care. They're taking it from the right pocket or the left pocket. They're paying too much in property taxes, and I'm going to vote to extend this 1% and look to lower property taxes in the future. Thank you.
Legislator Montgomery.
So back to the second amendment that I proposed on the floor. It is allowable. The primary amendment and one secondary amendment can be pending at the same time. So I think we should go back to the secondary amendment, which was mine, which was to table this because we obviously still have a lot to talk about. The towns haven't had an opportunity to come before us. It would be a real disservice to, I think, everybody in Putnam County if they didn't understand the impact that this could have this year, because I see some hope for the towns in doing what all but 11 counties in New York State do, and that is share sales tax revenue with their villages and towns. So with that, I would like to make a motion to table this.
Mr. Chair, I was able to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Successive motions to amend even can be made, and if that is done, the first motion gets priority and then it goes from there. A motion to table can also be made. Further discussion is not permitted on that motion, though. On the motion to table, specifically.
Okay, so we have a motion to table, so we need a second and a vote on that
Correct.
before we can table it or go on to the original motion.
Correct.
Okay, so I will ask for a second to table.
Can I clarify, please, what we're tabling?
Discussion. We're tabling
The original resolution for the 1%.
the 1%. Correct, the original 1%.
I make a motion to table resolution number 6SS on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, although this is not debatable, I'm not offering debate. I will offer, since the motion to table was premised on sharing sales tax with the towns and villages, I will be recusing myself from this vote. The law firm of which I'm a partner represents 1 town and 2 villages, so that's the reason for my recusal on this motion to table. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're voting on a motion. We have a motion on the table to table. We have a second. So a roll call vote to table the original resolution of the 1%.
Legislator Adamski.
No.
Legislator Birmingham.
I recuse and abstain.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elder.
No.
Legislator Golden.
No.
Legislator Young.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Motion failed.
Legislator Yonke.
Thank you. Going back to the discussion on the original amendment. I heard legislator probably talk about tax hikes, property tax hikes. I've been here for 8 budgets. We never had a surplus of money like we have today. So yes, I did increase property taxes. I would venture to guess there's no one in this room that has a background in property taxes that I do. There might not be anybody in the county that has a background like I do in property taxes. We have room to give back in both the sales tax and the property tax columns with the surplus that we have. It was my initiative 2 years ago to take $500,000 that was meant for frivolous spending, in my opinion, and give that back to the taxpayers. So that was for the 24 and 25 budgets. So altogether, we've given back $1 million to the taxpayers in property tax relief. I think we need to stop taking money unnecessarily from our residents. We can do that with the sales tax, and come the 26 budget process, we can reduce the property tax for next year.
Legislator Montgomery.
The last time this came up for a vote was in 2022, and to comment on Legislator Bianchi's comments, we did have a surplus then, so this is not the first day we've seen the fund balance that we've had. We've had it for quite some time. In fact, the sales tax revenue has actually steadily been growing since 2019 with the passage of the Wayfair Act, which allowed us to tax online purchases. And in 2022, all the legislators that were here during that time made comments like, this is the most important, it's very important that we extend this 1% sales tax increase for our seniors. It's very important that we add this to the county budget because it is needed. We can't do without it. We heard from the, who was then the finance commissioner. So this is interesting. Every year I voted against the extension, and this year, because I see an opportunity to partner with our towns and villages who have tiny budgets, who need help with their infrastructure. We did have a proposal by the county executive to help them out. In last year's budget, the legislators voted that down, and I think because I see a light at the end of the tunnel with partnering with our towns and villages and giving them the resources that they needed, because we are sitting on a lot of money that they generate, that they have to deal with all of the consequences of generating that sales tax with the impact of tourism and the people that come through their towns. They have to fix most of their roads. They have to remove most of the garbage that this sales tax revenue incurs on those towns and villages. So I would, with that, make a motion to table the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to table the amendment. Do we have, she made a motion to table the original.
We voted on my motion to table the original. What's on the floor now is the amendment. So I make a motion to table the amendment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Well, if I could, not to comment on the motion itself, but for the same reasons. Sorry?
The chair.
Oh, I was speaking
Thank
to
you.
the chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, for the same reasons I stated earlier, because I think this motion to amend is premised on the sharing of sales tax. As I stated earlier, my firm is counsel to 3 of those entities, so because of that, I will be abstaining and recusing from this motion.
Thank you. Legislator Birmingham. Roll call vote, please. On the motion
Can you
to,
read what the amendment was?
I'm speaking right now. Roll call vote to table the amended, amended resolution. The 5/8% increase. So roll call vote on to table.
Legislator Agnesia.
No.
Legislator Birmingham.
Recuse and abstain?
Legislator Crowder.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
No.
Legislator Bowden.
Yes.
Legislator Bianchi.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No. Okay, moving on.
It's 4-4.
We've done the discussion. It's 4-4.
I needed to-
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 4-4. Doesn't pass.
The motion to
Table.
failed.
Failed.
I'll defer to county attorney's office, but I think every resolution we need needs an affirmative vote of 5 votes. Yeah. So with that.
Right. Okay, so we could do this all night. I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote on the amended.
It's failed. She tabled it.
No. Your table failed. Legislator Elner.
There's one other thing which I just want everybody to realize and consider as we're voting on this. The system in Putnam County differs significantly from other counties. Okay? We don't share sales tax because we make towns, villages, and school districts whole. That's very, very important. So when the Haldane School District doesn't get paid, and to the best of my recollection, we've been averaging between $2.2 and $2.3 million of county funds every year goes to that school district. So that's the system which we have. These other counties do not make towns, villages, and school districts whole.
Thank you. I think we'll, roll call vote, please, for the...
Could I ask legislator Elmer, though, to read his specific
Yeah,
changes?
you could read your...
Just so we know, we have a resolution before us, that has words in it. Tell us what words you're putting in, and tell us what words you're taking out.
Okay. First line, I'm removing to extend. I'm adding the word for. I'm removing the 1% increased. I'm removing for an additional
easier to read what you're actually.
Just go to committee.
Okay, I have it here. Okay.
Ridiculous.
Approval of Putnam County's request for the county sales tax rate to be established at a rate of 3 5/8% for the period from December 1, 2025 through November 30, 2028. Whereas in accordance with Chapter 113 of the laws of 2011 and pursuant to resolution number 41 of 2011, resolution 88 of 2013, and resolution 38 of 2015, the Putnam County Legislature approved the introduction and passage of legislation for the continued authorization of Putnam County sales tax to be increased from 3% to 4% for the period of September 1, 2007 through November 30th, 2017. And whereas, in accordance with resolution number 27 of 2017, the Putnam County Legislature approved the introduction and passage of legislation for the continued authorization of Putnam County sales tax to be increased from 3% to 4% for the period of December 1, 2017 through November 30th, 2019. However, the state of New York subsequently extended that increase through November 30th, 2020. And whereas, in accordance with resolution number 68 of 2020, the Putnam County Legislature approved the introduction and passage of legislation for the continued authorization of Putnam County sales tax to be increased from 3% to 4% for the period of December 1, 2020 through November 30, 2023. And whereas, by resolution number 46 of 2023, the Putnam County Legislature approved the introduction and passage of legislation for the continued authorization of Putnam County sales tax to be increased from 3% to 4% for the period of December 1, 2023 through November 30, 2026. However, the state of New York subsequently only extended that increase through November 30, 2025, which authorization is about to expire. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature hereby support and request the introduction and passage of legislation authorizing Putnam County sales tax rate to be increased from 3% to 3 5/8% for the period from December 1, 2025 through November 30th, 2028. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the Putnam County Legislature is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to our state representatives in the state legislature, as well as the governor and leadership of our state legislature.
Thank you, Legislator Elmer, and that is what we'll be voting on. I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
Chairwoman, it's still misleading, and I brought this up during committee, and I'm not sure why the committee members didn't address this, but as we heard from Legislator Yonke, we've never seen a fund balance. So why are we misleading the public by saying, whereas, in light of the current and ongoing fiscal challenges facing Putnam County, we have a giant fund balance?
I can answer that. I believe the resolution that
Deleted
Senator Elmer read deleted that paragraph.
Okay. Well, it would be really good to have it in writing in front of us.
I do have copies of that.
We have an amendment on the floor. He does have copies of this amendment that he can pass out. I understand.
If there be a motion to accept additionals.
There's such lack of transparency here, and this is
Transparency.
This should go
Instead of raising the
committee.
tax rate
This should
by
go to
4%,
committee.
it's by 3.5.
This should go to committee.
Groundwork. Legislator Brown.
But he's not,
Oh, Crowley.
I'm out of order.
Elmer. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Karen and Al, you know, whatever. Can we accept
We can, I make a motion to
accept
accept
it as additional? I feel like we should have, if you have copies, I feel like it should
Yeah,
have.
I don't have a
In
copy.
good faith, we should get this to the legislative members before it comes to the floor.
So I'll make a motion
Especially
to
if there are
accept
copies and
additional.
there were time to be made.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. To accept additional.
I have a question.
Can we take this vote first?
No, let's everybody go.
Oh, we don't.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that everybody was okay with accepting the motion.
This is your standard red and blue, Caroline.
This usually happens in committee, but here we are again, ramming something through that.
I apologize for being away with my family and extended family when the committee meeting took place.
Well, it should go back to committee then.
Let's take a vote. We are voting on an additional 5/8% for the period of December 1st, 2025 through November 30th, 2028. This is the amended resolution. Roll call vote, please.
That was quick. You guys were fast readers.
I don't know, wait a few minutes, 2 seconds.
Through the chair. Through the chair. It's not a question, I just want to say, we have to also, people need to understand that New York State has to also agree to this. It's not just that we are just,
This has to
we
be
don't know if they
representatives of
will
all.
even agree in Albany, so just want to get you aware of that.
Okay, we'll take a vote now. Roll call vote, please. On the amendment.
Legislator Avenazio.
Yes.
Legislator Berman.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
I'm abstaining because the public hasn't had time to vet this, it hasn't gone through committee, and it's just being sent to us right now.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
I'm going to abstain because I haven't had time to read this. I find it very interesting that Legislator Elmer proposed this, and and a different legislator had the backups, and no one else had the backups. And then when we asked for backups, the other legislator gave us the backups. So I'm going to abstain.
Legislator Yonke.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
I abstain, I didn't have time to review it thoroughly. Did you guys discuss this in caucus?
Legislator Putnam.
I'm going to abstain as well.
Because where did all this come from? You
Legislator
didn't.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Legislator Elmer's failed.
Motion, yeah, on the 3/8%, 5/8%.
Legislator Elmer's 3/5 or 3/8 fails.
So the amendment we have before us is for the Putnam County's request to extend a 1% increase county sales tax for 3 years since the amendment failed. Legislator Elmer.
I would like to propose another amendment, which is less of a reduction. I would like to propose that the rate be at 3.75%, which is effectively a 1/4% reduction in the county sales tax. All the other language remains the same. And
Do I have a motion? Wait.
Second.
Through the chair, motion to accept additional, he has the resolution on this one too.
I'll second that.
Okay, well, he offered it to me, so Dan, legislator Berman handed it to me. That resolution, so I feel
Okay, so
like
we have a
it's
second
handed
on
to
the,
me.
okay, I'll take care of it, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a second on the floor for the amended resolution of 1/4%. So we have an amended resolution to the original of an increase
3.75%.
3.75%. And we have a motion to accept additional. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of accept additional?
Is that an additional?
I'm sorry?
Second is on the additional, we don't have a second on the.
I seconded it. I seconded it.
Yeah. So now we're into the discussion of the item, and we've accepted the additional. Legislator Miller, since this is your resolution, I'd ask you to just clarify.
Chair, isn't this I'm going to question legislator.
Yeah, we'll have discussion.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying it's the same thing. It's just reducing it.
Yes, it's the same thing, that we couldn't go for the original amount, which I would have liked to see in sales tax. Now we're effectively reducing sales tax by 0.25%. Instead of asking New York State to give us 4% additional on the sales tax for the period, now asking for 3.75%.
Okay, discussion on the amendment. Legislator Blumer.
Again, I'm going to make my point again. I find it very interesting that legislator Elner proposed this and the other one, and then...
Excuse me, for the record, absolutely not. I said I wanted a full 1% reduction. So please get your facts straight.
You just proposed this. Don't tell me that. You just proposed this, and I just got this. I find it interesting that legislator Elner did this, and then again, another legislator, Birmingham, has the supplemental information and passes it out. Doesn't anyone find this strange? You guys being behind closed doors? What's going on here?
He's got a printer.
Any point of order?
Yes, let me speak to that. There's nothing unusual about a legislator amending a resolution from the floor.
How did you have it?
Okay.
And he proposed it, and we didn't have
Let
it.
me finish. If I could.
You have an answer?
Well, let me finish. There's nothing unusual about a legislator amending a resolution from the floor. I've been on the legislature just over 9 years. Used to happen quite often anyway. And the fact that when legislator Elner told me about his plans, I wanted to see what it looked like. So yes, I did prepare this. It was prepared this afternoon in our legislative office. And
that's great. I needed this bit, but you had it.
I carried it over. I can't.
But that wasn't made public when it was done. It was made public after I just exposed it.
Through the chair, I'm just going to make this point. This is how work gets done through committee. This is how a committee works. And we're doing the committee work in public, live streamed, so we all have the benefit to understand what we're voting on. So there's nothing behind closed doors here. Legislator Crowley.
So you and Legislator Elner proposed this together in the office today.
No.
No, I thought that's what you said before.
No, we spoke to each other.
You spoke to each other about
So can we,
this. I'm just trying to understand what's going on because I'm not in the loop with this. Obviously, we work as a body, yet everything is supposed to be transparent. Right, I understand. So you two had a discussion. Okay. So are you two on the same committees at all? Is this violating open meetings law when you're sitting here discussing things like that, preparing it and going at it behind closed doors?
actually, Legislator Crowley, you and I and Legislator Birmingham are on the same.
I know what committee we are on. I understand that, but they're still having discussions behind closed doors about certain things. It's not transparent. It's not open. One's printed, one's not. Okay, it's ridiculous. You just so happen to have it printed out. It's not transparent at all. But you don't have caucus anymore. You don't want to do anything behind closed doors, but yet you're doing it. You are doing it.
Aaron, I talked to my colleagues. I talked to you about legislation. In fact, I talked to you about legislation that was tabled this evening, didn't we?
We talked about it yesterday. You were in full support until you weren't, because it's transparency, and we're not in full support of transparency.
So where transparency is thrown around so much only when it applies to you.
No, if I could, you and I have talked about legislation many times before, my short tenure that you and I have served together. So, you know, I think that's pretty much the same as what Legislator Elmer and I were talking about. Would you agree?
I was all right.
Let's continue with the work of this committee here, of our legislature. We have on the floor, and I really would like to actually discuss the merits of the amendment, essentially lowering the sales tax. We're talking about lowering sales tax for families in Putnam County. I don't know why that's so controversial, but we'll continue on with the discussion here. Legislator Elmer.
When this was discussed in committee, I went on record saying I wanted to reduce what the county would request for by 1%. And a lot of people felt that's just too much. So coming here tonight, I figured that, you know, the 3.58 would be a good number. And obviously this body felt that that was too much, so I was prepared to have the 3.75%, which is effectively a 0.25% decrease in sales tax. Very simple, okay? The original resolution here is to ask the state to give us a full 4%. I want to put money back in the taxpayers' pockets. That's it. I don't know why you guys, again, all had a joint. This is a very simple issue. Either you want to return money to the individuals, the residents of Putnam County, and anyone who, every time they spend. We did it for clothing, where we completely exempted it. Now we're just doing it for everything.
Any further discussion? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I agree. You wanted to reduce it by 1%. Well, I declared blue sky. You picked two separate numbers. Remember, at the last audit committee meeting, the Commissioner of Finance had no idea what the 4 union contract would cost over the next few years. He had no idea what the employee health insurance would cost over the next few years. He had no idea how much the Putnam County Employee Insurance Review Committee would cost us over the next few years. And with the federal government cutting things, we have no idea what's going to happen. But I declared blue sky. You said, oh yeah, let's cut more property taxes. That's crazy.
This isn't property taxes.
I mean,
I'd like to clarify some statements that were made regarding making school districts whole, and Putnam County is the only one in New York State that does that. That's not true. Westchester County does it. Westchester County maintains a policy where the county assumes responsibility for uncollected property taxes, ensuring that school districts are whole. Nassau used to, I'm not sure if they still do. And again, regarding sharing sales tax, I don't think this has been vetted. We didn't have enough time to discuss this amendment. We didn't have enough time to go back to our towns and villages who came out. One town came out, the other towns, as I said, could not come out because we had rescheduled the meeting, so they didn't have an opportunity to come out to discuss this. So they're not here at the table, and I think they really need to be, so I won't be supporting this. And in addition, just so you know, counties across the board share their sales tax with their towns and villages, and I think seeing an opportunity to extend the sales tax, I've had conversations where I think we can make some headway in getting the county executive to incorporate some of this in the budget to support our towns and villages, and I hope that you would support it. Washington County allocates 7% of its sales tax revenue to towns and villages, amounting to $1.38 million in 2019. Essex County shares sales tax with towns and villages, structured as the first 3.75% is retained by the county, and the additional 0.25% is shared with towns and villages. Across the board, Orleans County, the county shares 6% of its sales tax revenue with towns and villages. I don't know if the public understands the impact. Obviously, the legislators don't understand the strain that our towns and villages are under with their infrastructure, aging infrastructure that they need to maintain on their tiny budgets and staying within the 2% cap. So I'm not going to be able to vote on this tonight.
Any further discussion?
Can I make a motion to table this back to audit, because it seems like we're not seeing eye to eye. I mean, I'm fine to go at it all night long, I don't mind, but, and I understand we have a deadline of until the assembly's in session or out of session in June or whatever.
Great, is there a second on the table?
A second.
Roll call vote.
What are we voting on, please?
We're voting on tabling the amended resolution.
Second.
Legislator Edwards.
To table?
Yeah.
You don't have to
I
go
don't think we're
along
gonna
with
get,
everybody.
I never go along with anybody. I don't need you to tell me what to do. I will say yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
No.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
So just to be clear,
Motion carries.
for clarification, now we're back to the original.
Now we'll get back to the original
resolution.
100%.
Because all we did was table the amendment.
Correct. We tabled the amendment, so we're back to the original 100%.
Now, work our way out.
Okay.
So now we have the resolution in front of us. It can be amended again.
Through the chair. I'm gonna motion to table this as well. For the same
Yeah,
reasons.
I'll second that. It seems.
It seems like we're going in circles.
Yeah, and we can do that. I'll second that motion to table the main motion.
Table the main motion to discuss at the next rules. Or audit, excuse me. We'll go back to committee. Okay, so we're making a motion to table the original.
Legislator Andrewsy.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Coleman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'll share one. Okay. Thanks for that lesson in Robert's rules and committee discussion. We'll put this discussion on our audit committee.
And just to be clear, that will have to be, I would think,
Must be a phase.
yes, I think,
Getting close.
yes, we're getting very close. So we're going to have to vote on this in one way or the other.
And we may have to have a special vote to pass this.
Can I just, Sharon, can I just ask that if we have pre-filed resolutions, can we try and the best of this on our behalf to try to get them in before we're sitting at the table so we have time to vet them, so we don't end up doing this?
I think we normally do.
I
think that stifles sometimes the working of this body, and I can't even guarantee that, but
Try.
mostly we try.
Okay, that's all I ask, we try.
All right, moving on to agenda item 6TT. This is approval for DSS, the authorization to establish a Youth Bureau petty cash account. This will establish a $200 petty cash account fund for the Youth Bureau office to pay for program supplies for the Youth Bureau events, particularly when a voucher or purchase order is not accepted or time does not allow. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 6U is an approval for Putnam County to serve as a sponsor for the fiscal year 2022 EPA STAG grant funding for the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. This is a pass-through grant that the county applies for, and they pass it through to support the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. Hudson Valley Shakespeare. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 6VV is an approval authorizing the filing of an application for estate assistance. Filing of an application for estate assistance from the Household Hazardous Waste Program and signing of the associated state master grant contract under the appropriate laws of New York State. This is approving the municipal hazardous waste program that keeps hazardous waste out of our waterways and out of our environment. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 7. We have with us tonight pre-filed resolutions. I would like to make a motion to accept other business agenda item 7B. Excuse me, 7A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I will, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 7A for the amended tax collection collector warrant for the town of Putnam Valley to enter into the 2024 book of proceedings. Do I have a second? Oh, legislative Crowley, I'm sorry. All in favor, discussion. Legislative Jonke.
Yeah, just so everybody understands, this was a request made by our Director of Real Property Tax. The warrant in Putnam Valley called for approximately $12,900 of unpaid water bills, unpaid water tax to be submitted on the tax bills of Putnam Valley. They were not on the bills. So we're going to have to bill at a later time. So we're just correcting the warrant that was signed last year.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda item 7B. I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation. Do I have a second to go into executive session? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Want to do roll call vote?
Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Evans?
Yes, it's to go into executive session, just to be clear.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley?
I'm opposed due to the fact that I think this should have gone through committee first and not be brought up during the full, and it should have been tabled and brought back. That's it. I'm opposed.
Legislator Elmer?
Yes.
Legislator Goldman?
I also oppose because this kind of stuff should go into committee so we can have discussion, so the public can see what we're doing.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
I vote no, we've never gone into executive session to retain an attorney. So we've never had to do that before, so I'm not sure why we're doing it now, so I vote no.
Legislator Russo?
I'm going to abstain as well.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes,
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, being the one who invites some people in.
I would like to invite Legislative Council Abisi, Shaburko, Chairco, I'm sorry, that's a deputy, our risk manager, Matt Bruno, and my wife is called the one as well as the name, just all the legislators who wish to participate.
Talk about it. Now let's go to the board council.
We don't know when they're going to come out.
Let's just